The twin suns of Zellery Prime glowed over the grand palace, its crystal towers reaching high into the pale sky. The people gathered outside the palace gates, cheering and waving banners made of light. A special announcement was about to begin. Inside the throne hall, the Queen of Zellery stood tall and proud. Her robes shimmered with living colors, and her golden eyes swept over the crowd of nobles and dignitaries. At her side stood her daughter Princess Selara. Selara's face was calm, but her heart was burning with rage. Her hands were clenched tight inside her long sleeves. She had begged her mother not to do this. She had argued, she had shouted, but nothing had worked. The queen raised her voice, her tones smooth and commanding. "Today we announce a bond that will strengthen the stars," she said. "My daughter, Princess Selara, will join in sacred union with Prince Corvin of the Black Talon Empire." The nobles clapped politely. The alliance meant power, protection, and trade. But Selara felt like a cage had closed around her. She didn't want to marry Corvin. He was a brute, known for conquering planets and crushing enemies. He respected no one, not even his own people. Selara had only met him once, and he had looked at her like she was a prize, not a person. Her stomach turned, and now. The queen continued, "We welcome a delegation from a new world Earth." The crowd turned to see a small group entering the hall. They wore simple uniforms, not shining robes or floating cloaks. They were human tall, soft-skinned, and strange. No one had seen their kind before. The humans walked with quiet dignity. In front was a man with graying hair and a steady voice. Behind him was a younger man, strong, calm eyes sharp like a blade. He stood out without trying. That man was Lieutenant Jacob Reeve. Selara's eyes found him at once. And suddenly, everything around her seemed to slow. Jacob wasn't doing anything special. He wasn't speaking. He wasn't smiling. He was simply standing among his people, scanning the room. But when his eyes met Selara's, she felt something strange. Her breath caught. She stood completely still. For a moment, she forgot the room, forgot the ceremony, even forgot her anger. The world had gone quiet, and all she saw was him. Jacob blinked once, surprised by her gaze. Then he gave her a small, respectful nod and looked away. The spell broke. Selara turned quickly, confused and flustered. What was that feeling? Why did she freeze like that? Her heart was beating too fast. Her palms were sweating. She had never reacted this way to anyone, not even when she fought her first duel at the age of 10. The queen noticed her daughter's sudden stillness. "Selara," she whispered. "Are you unwell?" Selara straightened. "No, mother. Just surprised by their appearance." The queen smiled thinly. Earth may be young, but they may grow into fine allies. Later that evening, the royal dinner was held under the stars. Long tables floated above the glowing gardens. Lights danced in the air, and music played from living instruments. Selara sat beside her mother, silent, staring at her food. Across the garden, the human delegation spoke with some Zellery nobles. Jacob stood near a fountain, speaking with an ambassador. Her eyes kept drifting to him. Why? She didn't know this human. She had only seen him once, but something deep in her bones whispered that this man was important. Somehow, she stood from her seat. "I need air," she told her mother. The queen gave her a sharp glance. "The prince arrives tomorrow. You will show respect." "I only need a few minutes," Selara said, and walked away before more could be said. She moved through the garden, trying to calm herself. Suddenly, a noise came from the trees, low and sharp. She turned just in time to see a black shape rushing toward her. A blade flashed, but before it could reach her, a hand pulled her down, and behind a pillar a shot fired. The attacker screamed and vanished in a burst of light. Selara looked up Jacob. Reeve stood before her, his weapon raised and his face tight with focus. "You all right, princess?" he asked. She blinked, stunned. "Yes, I think so." He scanned the area. "You should be more careful. Not everyone here wants peace." Guards ran toward them, chasing the attacker's trail. The queen was shouting orders in the distance. "Selara, Rose slowly. How did you see him coming? Old habit. I've seen too many wars to trust the quiet. She looked at him. Saved me. He gave a small shrug. I'd do the same for anyone, but Saylara knew that wasn't true. No one else had noticed. And yet this human, this stranger had. The Queen stormed over Saylara. Are you hurt? I'm fine, Mother, she said. Thanks to him, the Queen turned to Jacob. We are in your debt. No debt, Jacob replied. Just doing my job. The Queen frowned. She didn't like humans much, even if she said polite words. We'll increase security, she said, pulling Saylara close. Come now. But Saylara looked back at Jacob. Thank you, Lieutenant. He met her eyes again. That strange feeling returned. A warmth in her chest. A question in her mind. A pull she didn't understand. That night, Saylara sat on her balcony. Staring at the stars, she thought about the warlord Prince Corvinand, how he would arrive tomorrow. Expecting a bride, she thought about the human soldier, Jacob Band, how he had moved without fear, how he had seen her, her hand touched her chest. Her heart still beat faster when she remembered that moment in the hall, and again in the garden. Why? She didn't believe in fate, she didn't believe in fairy tales. But something had changed. Something had started the moment she looked into that human's eyes. And now, she couldn't ignore it. The morning sky above Zelari Palace was gray with storm clouds. It was rare for the skies to be cloudy on this planet. But today, it matched Princess Sayara's mood. She stood by her window, watching soldiers prepare for the arrival of Prince Corvin. The warlord's ship would land in less than an hour. Soon after, the formal bonding rituals would begin. She wasn't ready. She didn't want this marriage. More than that, she didn't understand what was happening inside her heart. All night, she had thought about the human Lieutenant Jacob Reeve, his calm strength, the way he stood between her and danger, his eyes so sharp but kind. She could still feel the moment he had looked at her and asked, You all right, Princess? Her cheeks grew warm. No, she said, aloud to herself, shaking her head. This is madness. A knock came at her chamber door. Enter, she said. It was Lady Inari, her personal guard and closest friend. The warlord's ship is approaching, Inari said, bowing slightly. The Queen wants you ready in the throne hall. Saylara turned away from the window. I will be there. I only need a few minutes. Inari looked at her with concern. You've been quiet since last night. Was it the attack? Saylara hesitated, then nodded. Yes and no. Inari didn't push. If you need anything, I'm here. Thank you. The warlord's ship landed with a loud hiss of steam and metal. Its black armor glinted like a beast in the sunlight. Prince Corvin stepped out, tall and broad-shouldered, dressed in heavy, dark armor. His skin was gray and rough like stone, his eyes cold and full of pride. He smiled when he saw Saylara standing at the Queen's side. She did not smile back. The Queen stepped forward. Prince Corvin of the Black Talon Empire, welcome to Zelari Prime. He gave a half bow. My warriors guard your skies. Soon, our houses will be one. He looked at Saylara directly. And I will take your daughter as my mate. The Queen gave a polite nod, but Saylara felt her fists clench behind her gown. He spoke as if she was already his property. Suddenly, she felt someone watching her. From the side of the throne hall, she saw the Earth's delegation, among them Jacob. He stood still, observing quietly, like a soldier always on duty. But when Saylara met his gaze, his expression changed just slightly. He gave the smallest nod, as if asking, Are you okay? Her shoulders relaxed. She nodded back, just once. Corvin noticed the small exchange and frowned. He leaned toward her and said low, What are you doing, looking at that Earthman? Saylara didn't answer. She stepped away from him, her chin raised. Later in the palace gardens, Saylara walked with quick steps, trying to clear her mind. She shouldn't be thinking about Jacob. She shouldn't care that he was watching her during the ceremony. But she couldn't stop. Footsteps approached from behind. Princess, she turned. It was him. Jacob stood at a respectful distance, hands behind his back. You're walking alone again. Not safe after yesterday, he said. She gave a tired, Smile. The palace has more guards than stars right now. I think I'm fine. He looked around. Still, I'd rather keep you in my sight for a bit. They walked side by side slowly. No words for a moment. Just the sound of the wind and the soft hum of glowing flowers. Finally, she spoke. You saved me yesterday. I never really thanked you properly. You did, he said, with your eyes. She looked at him, surprised. Jacob continued. In the hall, when I first saw you, something happened. I don't know what, but it was like time paused. Her voice was soft. I felt it too. They stopped walking. Princess, Jacob said, his voice steady. I know this isn't my place, but I've seen many forced marriages in alien worlds. They never end well. I know, she whispered. Do you want this union with Corvin? No, she said firmly. But my mother thinks it's best for our people. For peace. Jacob looked into her eyes. Sometimes peace comes from standing against the wrong choice. Her heart raced. I don't know what's happening between us, she said honestly. I don't know why I'm drawn to you, but it feels real. It does, Jacob agreed. I wasn't expecting any of this. I came here for duty, not for he stopped. Not for you. But now, she asked. I can't ignore what I feel anymore, he admitted. A guard called from a distance. Princess Saylara, the queen asks for you. She turned, then looked back at Jacob. We'll speak again. He nodded once. Be careful. Back in the royal chamber, Saylara stood before her mother. You've been distant, the queen said. I have much to think about. The wedding is in 2 days, the queen said. This alliance will protect us from the Eastern Coalition. Corvin's fleet is strong, but at what cost? Saylara asked. The queen narrowed her eyes. Your feelings are getting in the way of your duty. I am not a tool, mother. I am your daughter. You're a princess first, the queen snapped, and I saw the way you looked at that human. Sayara's heart jumped. You watched. Everyone did, the queen said. You must stop this nonsense. He's nothing. It's not our kind. But he's the only one who sees me as more than a weapon or a prize, Saylara said. The queen's voice became sharp. You will forget him, and you will stand by Corvin's side for your people. Saylara lowered her head. Yes, mother. But inside, a storm was rising. That night, Jacob received a message on a secure channel. It was short. Meet me in the North Garden, midnight. Essie hesitated only a moment, then slipped out of his quarters and moved through the quiet palace in the moonlight. He found her standing near a glowing tree. You came, she said. Course, he said. Why did you call me, Saylara? Took a breath. I need to know something. Anything. If I were not a princess, if I were just a woman, would you still feel the same? I would, he said simply. I think. I already do. She stepped closer. Then listen. I don't want this marriage. I'm being forced into it. Then don't go through with it, Jacob said. Fight it. I will need help, she said. And courage. I can help, he said. But the courage is already in you. They stood close now, their words low and serious. Jacob, she said softly, I feel like I've known you for years. He nodded. Same. Suddenly a sharp voice rang out. Princess! It was Corvin. He stood at the edge of the garden, eyes burning with fury. What is the meaning of this? Guards rushed in. The queen arrived moments later. Corvin. What is happening? The queen demanded. He pointed at Jacob. Your daughter meets secretly with this earth soldier at night. The queen looked at Saylara, furious. Is this true? I called him here, Saylara said without fear. We were speaking of what? The queen snapped. Of truth, Saylara said. Of my future. Corvin growled. This is betrayal. She insults me. The queen turned to her guards. Take the princess back to her chamber. She is not to leave until the wedding. Saylara held Jacob's gaze as they pulled her away. She didn't cry, but he saw the fire in her eyes and knew this story was far from over. The chamber door closed behind Princess Saylara with a heavy thud. It locked with a soft hiss of sealing gas. She was now officially a prisoner in her own palace. She stood still, her fists clenched at her sides. The room was large and beautiful, but now it felt like a cage. "I'm not a prisoner," she whispered to herself. But she was. Her mother had given the order. The queen had made it clear Solara would marry Prince Corvin in one day. There would be no more arguments, no more meetings with Jacob, no more choices. Except Solara still had her mind. In her heart. Both were refusing to obey. Meanwhile, on the other side of the palace, Lieutenant Jacob Reeve paced inside the human delegation quarters. His commander, Ambassador Halen, had just given him orders to pack. "We leave tomorrow at dawn," Halen said. "This situation is getting out of control." Jacob stopped walking. "You mean the situation where a princess is being forced into a political marriage?" "We're not here to get involved," Halen replied. "Our mission was observation, not interference." Jacob shook his head. "She called me to that garden. She wanted help. Now she's locked away. Are we just going to pretend that didn't happen?" Halen lowered his voice. "I know. You feel something for her. But we don't have the power to stand against two alien empires." Jacob looked at the floor, then back up. "Maybe not with weapons, but what about with words? With truth?" The ambassador sighed. "Do what you want. Just make sure you're on that ship when we leave." Inside her chamber, Solara stared. At the hologram of her wedding dress, it floated in the air layers of silver light and royal gems. It was designed to make her look like a queen, but to her, it looked like chains. She turned away. She walked to the window, looking out over the quiet gardens below. She needed a way out, a way to speak her truth, not just to her mother, but to everyone. She had tried silence. It had failed. She had tried obedience. It had cost her freedom. Now she had to try something else. That evening, as the palace lights dimmed and the stars blinked above, a secret plan began to form. Jacob stood outside the gates of the palace tower. He wore a cloak over his uniform, blending into the shadows. Inside his jacket was a small communicator, one that Solara had given him during their second meeting. He whispered into it. "Are you there?" "Yes. You're sure about this?" "I am," she replied. "More than I've been sure of anything. I'll meet you at the observatory dome. Midnight. Be ready." "I will." Getting out of her locked chamber wasn't easy, but Solara had trained in secret paths of the palace since she was young. She removed a panel from behind her mirror and crawled into the wall. Dust filled her lungs as she climbed down through forgotten shafts and maintenance ladders. She reached the old tunnel that led to the observatory. No guards ever came here. No one cared about stargazing during a royal wedding, except tonight. The stars would witness something more powerful than any vow. Jacob was already there, waiting beneath the dome. The observatory was quiet, filled with the soft glow of star maps. Above, the transparent ceiling showed the sky clearly. When she arrived, he turned. For a moment, they simply looked at each other. "You made it," he said, relieved. "So did you." He walked closer. "I can get you off this planet. We can leave tonight. My ship has clearance." Lara shook her head. "No, Jacob. If I leave now, they'll call it desertion, or worse, betrayal. My mother will hunt me down. Then what do we do?" She stepped forward. "We speak publicly." Jacob blinked. "What do you mean?" "There's a broadcast tower in the palace. It connects to the entire Zelari system. If I reach it, I can speak to my people. I can tell them the truth." Jacob hesitated. "That's dangerous." She nodded. "Everything worth doing is." He smiled slightly. "You sound like a human, and you sound like someone I trust." They stood close, so close she could feel his breath. "Why do you care so much, Jacob?" she asked quietly. "Because when I saw you, I didn't see a princess. I saw someone strong and trapped, and I wanted to help. Then, I just wanted to be with you." She took his hand. "Then let's do this together." They moved through hidden halls, Jacob guiding her with his map scanner. They avoided guards, passed through servant passages, and finally reached the main broadcast tower. 2 guards stood outside. "I'll handle them," Jacob said. Before Solara could argue, he moved fast, striking one guard with a stunned pulse and disarming the second. Both were unconscious in seconds. Solara stared at him. "You're better than I thought," he grinned. "Soldier's instinct." They entered the tower. Inside, Solara activated the control panel. The room lit up. Red light flashed. "Live. System. Online." She took a deep breath. "Begin transmission," she said. A small lens floated up, recording her face. She began to speak. "People of Zelari. This is Princess Solara. I speak to you not as royalty, but as someone who has been silent too long. Tomorrow, I am meant to marry a man chosen for politics, not love. I am told it will bring peace. But I ask you, what kind of peace begins with chains? War. I have studied history. I know. True unity is not forced. It is chosen. I met a human, a soldier. He is not a prince. He holds no power. But in him, I saw something I never saw in our own halls. Honor, kindness, freedom. I choose my future. I choose my heart. And I choose to stand against any throne that tries to take that from me." She paused, then looked directly into the camera. "This is not rebellion. It's truth." She ended the transmission. The tower went silent. Jacob stepped beside her. "That was powerful. I meant every word," she said. But their moment was short. Alarms began to sound. They had been found. Palace guards rushed in. Behind them came Corvin, shouting with fury. "You dare speak lies to your people," he yelled. "You disgrace your throne." Solara stood tall. "I speak the truth, and they will hear it." The queen entered last, her face pale with fury. "Solara," she said, "you have shamed me." "Oh, mother," Solara said, her voice calm. "I have freed myself." Corvin pointed at Jacob. "This human has poisoned her mind. He must be punished." Jacob stepped forward. "Touch her, and you'll answer to Earth." The queen raised a hand. "Enough." The room fell quiet. She looked at her daughter, then at Jacob. "You truly would throw away this alliance for him?" "I would throw away any alliance that demands I stop being myself," Solara said. The queen stared at her, then slowly turned away. "Take them both," she said to the guards. They stepped forward. Jacob moved protectively in front of Solara, but then something unexpected happened. The guards hesitated. One stepped back, another dropped his weapon. Then a voice came through the palace speakers. "This is Admiral Jorek of the Outer Fleet," the voice said. "We received the princess's message. We support her right to choose." More voices followed. Nobles, officers, even common citizens. The message had spread like fire. People were choosing her side. Corvin's face turned pale. This is treason," No, Solara said. "This is change." The palace was alive with chaos. Word of Princess Solara's broadcast had spread across Zelari Prime like a wildfire. The halls that once echoed with polite whispers now roared with angry voices and hurried. Footsteps. Guards marched through corridors. Nobles gathered in small, tense groups, and the queen's face grew darker with every passing hour. Prince Corvin stood at her side, fuming. His pride had been shattered and his plans ruined. "This rebellion will be crushed," he vowed. "The princess will obey, or she will lose everything." But the queen was not so sure. Meanwhile, Solara sat quietly in a secure room deep in the palace, guarded but free for the moment. She was not alone. Jacob Reeve stood near the window, watching the stars. His calm presence comforted her. "We can't stay here much longer," Jacob said softly. "The queen will act soon." "I know," Solara replied. "But something has changed. The people are waking up." She turned to him, eyes full of hope. "I heard from the Outer Fleet. They support me. They say a new path is possible." Jacob smiled. "The universe is bigger than old alliances and forced marriages." She nodded. "I want to believe that, but it will take courage." The next day, the throne hall was packed. Nobles, soldiers, diplomats all gathered for the official wedding ceremony. The queen sat on her throne, her expression cold but resigned. Corvin stood beside her, his armor gleaming. Salara entered, dressed in the ceremonial gown. Her steps were steady, but her heart thundered. She reached the altar, where Corvin waited. The crowd hushed. The high priest began the ceremony, chanting in the old tongue. But then Salara raised her hand. "Stop." The hall gasped. All eyes turned to her. She looked at the crowd, then at her mother. "I will not marry Prince Corvin." Silence fell. The queen's eyes blazed. "You will obey." "No," Salara said firmly. "I choose my own path." Turned to Jacob, who stood behind the crowd, his eyes locked on hers. "This is my choice. Not a rebellion against my people, but a rebellion for my freedom." Corvin snarled. "This is treason." "Guards, seize her." The guards hesitated. Some lowered their weapons. Others looked uncertain. The queen's voice rang out. "Princess Salara, you defy the throne." "I defy chains," Salara said. "I ask you all, what is the future of Zelari? One built on fear, or one built on freedom?" Murmurs spread through the crowd. Faces softened. A few voices cheered quietly. Jacob stepped forward. "I stand with her," he said, "not because she is a princess, but because she is a leader." The queen looked around. She saw the change in her people, their support for Salara. Slowly, out. "If this is the will of our people, then I will not force a marriage." She turned to Corvin. "You will leave Zelari Prime." Corvin's face twisted in anger, but he bowed stiffly. "This is not over." Days later, Salara and Jacob stood on the balcony overlooking the city. The sky was clear, and the people below cheered. The queen approached them. "I was wrong," she said quietly. "You have shown strength I did not see before," Salara smiled. "Thank you, mother." Jacob looked at Salara. "What now?" She took his hand. "Now we build a new alliance, one of respect, trust, and choice." Together, they stepped forward. The future was uncertain, but it was theirs to shape. The dawn light painted the sky with soft orange and pink hues as Salara and Jacob stood on the landing platform of the palace. Ships from many worlds hovered in the distance, their engines humming softly. The day was clear, the air fresh. Yet, the tension around the palace had not fully faded. Salara wore a simple, silver cloak instead of the royal gown she had refused to wear. Her golden eyes scanned the crowd below. Citizens, soldiers, and diplomats gathered to witness a new beginning. Jacob stood close beside her, his hand warm and steady in hers. "Are you ready?" he asked softly. Salara nodded. For the first time, yes. The queen approached them, her expression softened but serious. "My daughter," she began, "you have changed more than just your own future. You have changed the future of Zelari." Salara bowed respectfully. "Thank you, mother. Your support means everything." The queen smiled faintly. It took courage to admit a mistake. Behind them, a group of ambassadors and leaders from other planets stepped forward. They had come to witness this moment, the breaking of old chains and the birth of new hope. Jacob cleared his throat. "As a representative of Earth," he said, "I promise that our worlds will work together with respect and trust, not by force, but by choice." The crowd responded with quiet applause. Salara looked up at the sky. "The galaxy is vast," she said, "full of different peoples, different cultures. But in all of us lies a desire for freedom, for respect, for a future we choose." Her voice grew stronger. "I stand here not just as a princess, but as a symbol of change, change that begins. With one simple truth, no one should be forced to choose a path that is not their own." A murmur of approval swept through the crowd. The queen's eyes glistened with tears. Corvin's defeat was final. He had left the palace days ago, his warships withdrawing from Zelari space. There would be no forced alliances, no marriages made. In chains, only partnerships built on trust. That evening, Salara and Jacob boarded the human ship that would take them on their new journey. The ship was sleek and powerful. a symbol of Earth's advanced technology, Jacob helped Salara aboard. Where will we go first? She asked, excitement and nervousness mixing in her voice. Anywhere, Jacob smiled. The stars are waiting. As the ship lifted from the platform, Salara looked back at Zalari Prime. The palace stood tall and proud under the twin suns. She felt a deep peace. For the first time, her future was hers to choose. Together, they flew toward the stars, toward freedom, toward hope, toward a new alliance between humans and Zalari.